All right. Okay, let me show you some slides first, and then we'll do everything like we do an exercise in Revit. And so I think as part of medium-sized or small firms, I assume you do a lot of remodeling or configuration of existing conditions. So
Yes.
Using phasing and design option, it's one of the workflows that I think provide a lot of value for designers. All right, so some of the language behind phasing, and this might be, I don't want to confuse you, but when we get into the exercise, you're going to see that it's pretty straightforward. A phase, it's a design scope in a project, and it's stage. It's a scope of work stage over time, and phasing. There's a dedicated set of tools in the Manage tab that allow me to create or delete existing phases. Out of the box, Revit comes with two phases: existing and new construction. And you can add additional phases if your project needs to, or you can delete them. But I work with projects, especially airports, that can have up to 7, 8 different phases. It can get very complex. And so a phasing is a project parameter, but it's applied in the project as part of the views. So if you scroll down the properties of any object, I'm just going to open this file called existing. When I select any wall and you scroll in the properties, right at the bottom, you're going to find 2 parameters. One is called a phase created and phase demolished. And then this dropdown allows you to switch between the different phases in the project. The phasing, you find it under the Manage tab. And then over by the right side under phasing, there's a phases. And there's a dialog box that allows me to add or remove phases in the project. There are a few terms to understand. Is that also every object in the project has a phasing property, and indicates 2 things: in which phase an element is created, in which phase an element disappears, in which phase the element is demolished. Elements existing to remain, for example, are created in an existing phase, but they don't get demolished. And so obviously we get none here. But if you have elements in your project or portions of your project that are to be removed in a phase, then we need to indicate when that is. And so the combination of phase created and phase demolished define the phase status. And there's a question here. The element status is the condition of an element as a result of phasing. Existing, and this is not to be confused with so there's a phase here called existing, right? But this is the name of a phase. Now, when we came to element status, this is a different existing, has nothing to do with that phase. What that means is objects created in not in the active phase, but in the previous phase. For example, if I am creating an object in phase 4, all the existing elements from phase 3 are the existing ones, right? It's not that they are part of the phase called existing, they're just existing elements coming from a previous phase. Then we have new elements, and these are elements created in the active phase or in the current phase. So if I am in phase 3, for example, all the new objects created in phase 3 have a status of new. And everything that happens before 3 is existing, including phase 2, phase 1, and everything that was existing before. Demolished is a status, and it's elements created previous the active phase, but they were demolished in the active phase. So if we are talking about phase 3, it's an existing object that is going to disappear in the active phase. And then temporary objects are objects that are created in the current phase and demolished in the current phase. We don't use that very often, but temporary objects are usually pre-construction facilities that take during construction. For example, if you create a temporary tunnel or a temporary passageway, and it's created in the active phase, but then at the end of the active phase is going to disappear. So those are temporary facilities. So these are a condition of elements because of the result of phases. Okay, let me show you here. I'm going to skip this very quickly. Just want to show here what I'm talking about. This is a timeline from past to future. And so we start with a set of as-built or existing conditions. And then anything that is new construction, or you can call it phase 1 or maybe phase 2, those are scope of work that is staged over time. So when we receive an as-built, we gotta make sure that everything in that as-built is part of the phase existing. Those are existing objects. So this is a simplification of a tunnel that spans over time. During phase 1 or new construction, objects existing to remain get grayed out because they have a filter. And the new objects, the objects that appear in the active phase, they now receive visibility graphic driven by object styles or by category. Elements that were created in the previous phase, but then they're going to be demolished in phase 1. They receive this dash line, and that's how we represent a demolition object. So demolition is not a phase. Demolition is the combination. It's when an object disappears in a phase. And then a temporary construction that appears during phase 1 and disappears in phase 1, that is a temporary object. So if we continue this is the same tunnel. On phase 2, all the existing objects belong to everything that was created on existing and phase 1, and then are staying to remain. The new objects created on phase 2 acquire the properties per category. An object that was existing coming from phase 1, but then it disappears on phase 2, it receives a view display of dashed. So that becomes the demolition portion of phase 2. And then a temporary object is something that appears on phase 2, but then it disappears on phase 2 as well, and they receive a different graphic override. And then at the end of the tunnel, we provide an as-built to the client, and then we change the visibility graphic so that everything displays as a single, same line weight. And so the view overrides that happen through the phases are called phase filter. Phase filter. And a phase filter is a property of a view. So let's go back to phase filter. Graphic overrides. This is what I'm talking about. Graphic overrides, it's applies line projection and a color and a line weight projection to elements belonging to different statuses. I talk about the statuses. Existing elements to remain that are carried over into an active phase, they receive a line weight of gray. Elements that were created in previous phases, but then demolished in the active phase, they receive this dash line. New objects, in fact, if this new objects receive this color, but I think if I click on this cell, it also give me the choice to display it by object style. So if this has nothing, if the new object has nothing, it will display it per object style. And then temporary objects that are created in the current phase and demolished in the active phase, in the current phase, and they receive a different line weight as well. So these are the graphic overrides that are applied to objects relative to their status. Now, these other toggle, which scare people a lot, but it's actually not that difficult to understand. This is how you apply these overrides to a view. So a phase filter is a property of a view. And it's a combination of toggles, like toggles that have a name. And for all the different object statuses, you can create a combination of view graphics that will display those objects either by category. Overreading means apply these graphic overrides. That's the choice, is overreading. And not display means do not show it. And out of the box, Revit comes with 7 filters. And you pick and choose which filter to apply to the view according to the purpose of the view. For example, if you want to show existing elements, but just the existing elements, you need to display the existing objects, but then you have to switch off everything else. The new, maybe the demolished you want to see as well. Existing, demolished, temporary is off, new is off. So if you are working in a construction plan, look at row number 6. You will display the new elements by category, by object style. existing objects will be overridden. And what that means is that existing objects will be displayed in grayscale. We're talking about construction plan. The demolished objects are not going to show in a construction plan. There's a demolition plan for that. So they are switched off. And temporary objects, objects that are created and demolished on the same phase, will also acquire this graphic override. So these are view properties, and it's a combination of toggles that tells Revit how to display elements based on a graphic override and based on the object statuses. For example, another example will be you're trying to create a demolition plan. Demolition plan display existing objects to remain and objects that disappear in the active phase. And so for a demolition plan, new objects are not displayed. Existing objects, they will display grayscale. So you override it. Demolish objects, objects that disappear in the active phase, yes, they're going to be overridden by the object style. So they're going to show as dash line. And temporary objects are not displayed. So that's how we create a demolition plan in the context of phasing. And then when the project is completed, like I was showing you here at the end, elements that are existing, elements of phase 1 and elements of phase 2, all those elements receive the same value. And so in the phase filter, complete is by new elements are displayed by category, existing elements are by category, demolish objects, they disappear, so you don't show them. And temporary objects, you don't show it anymore because they're not there. So for an as-built, you would apply to the views the filter called show complete. All right, so I hope I didn't confuse you, but here is again this diagram. Now let's focus again on the filters. Existing condition, this is the as-built that you receive from the client. They will display everything as per category. And so they would have a filter called show new, because in show new, you display everything in per everything, all the existing elements, all the existing elements in the new elements are displayed by category. On a floor plan that display the new construction on phase 1, the view has the property, this property filter. Show previews means show everything that happened before and apply a graphic override, plus the new elements. Display all the new elements by category. The demo objects will get this dash line because they are created and demolished in the active view, and the temporary as well will receive a graphic override. Now, when we get to phase 2, all the previous elements existing to remain, they receive this gray color. Demolished objects on phase 2 will get this dash line. Temporary objects will just have this as well. And then finally, you know, when we send an as-built to the client and they ask for the Revit model for maintenance, you can just change the view displays to show complete, and everything will be displayed by category. All right, so let's let's do it in an exercise, and then you're going to see that's not as complicated as we think it is. So everybody has this file. This is the existing file. This is what we're going to do in this little exercise. We're going to do a phase 1 remodel of the suite above. And then we're going to find a phase 2 as well here. And then the client give us this model. When you select these objects and look at the instance properties, this is what's happening. All the existing objects are part of new construction because this is what the client received maybe from another contractor. Okay, so first thing to do is to add phases. So to add phases, you go to the Manage tab, and you go to Phases, Facing Phases. And out of the box, Revit has two phases, existing and new construction. But for this exercise, because I know the scope of work has 2 phases, I'm going to rename new construction, and I'm going to call this phase 1. So you can just type on top of it. Type on the cell, phase 1. I'm going to select row number 2, and I'm going to insert after this another phase, phase number 2. Notice how Revit remembered the sequence of the last input. And the phases go from the past to the future. Now, organizing, understanding the scope of work is very, very important in this type of projects. So it's good to have a detailed discussion with the client to understand what he expects, and also with the BIM manager or the BIM lead. If you're not part of the BIM lead organization, then make it demand that you understand what are the phases. Because once you said this, it's a strategy that all the consultants need to apply. So architect cannot have 2 phases, and then the consultants are only showing 1 or 2. This is more than Revit, is more a strategy, a project strategy, a BIM execution strategy, and usually gets documented as part of the BIM execution plan. Okay, so I created the phases. Oh, I deleted by mistake. This is phase 1. I need to always click this 1 and 2. Then apply and hit OK. Any questions? All right, so now when I select an object, this is the existing model, but I'm gonna make this my new project. So I'm gonna save this file as, before I do any change. I'm gonna call this phased project. What happened here? Okay, so I save that file, save as. I'll give it a different name. I'm going to call this office project or phase project. Office project in phases. Okay, so when I look at these objects, notice how all of them say they are part of phase 2, and that's incorrect. So I'm gonna use this project with 3 different phases. I need to make sure that everything that is displayed right now in the project is part of the existing phase. And so the best way to do that is, it's an instance property. So you select a wall, And then, but before I do this, before I change this, let's make sure that for an existing plan, I want to make sure that everything looks grayed out. So the face filter, I'm going to use, well, I use this later. Yeah, let's change this. So you select the instances and then you associate them with the existing. But clicking one by one, it's a lot of work, right? So you can do this in a single step. You select everything in the project, use the filter tool, and we're going to do it by category. So let's select the walls only. And now that I have the walls and the properties, the reason I'm not seeing some of them is because there's a combination of curtain walls and walls. So let's see. Let's start with the doors. The doors is easy. Select everything in the project. Then select the doors. There are 18 doors. And then these doors, if you look at the properties in the facing, they should be all existing. Then select walls. And one way of selecting walls is you right-click and do select all instances in the entire project. So this is our right-click thing. Select the project, select an element, right-click, select all instances in the entire project. This is going to select all the walls. And these are the basic generic ones. And then they were created on the existing face. And notice that as I do that, existing objects start to look gray. Then I'm going to select, I'm going to hover over the wall from a corner and then hit the tab key. And again, this is going to select a chain of objects. Hover over, hit the tab key. And these are existing elements. And then finally, I'm just going to pick the curtain walls. The problem, curtain walls, gotta make sure that you select the curtain wall assembly, that you don't pick like the mullion or you don't pick the panel. All the elements hosted by the curtain wall will inherit the parent face. So there's no need to pick the panels and the mullions. So this is all existing. You see the mullions and the panels, then they change properties. The same here. This is existing. Two more. This is existing. And then this is existing. So everything on the screen should look gray. And I'm going to, once you're done doing this, I mean, right click, select all the flow, select, right click, select all instances in the project to select all the walls. And then select the curtain walls for the face created. All right, everybody with me here? Anybody need time? Just let me know. Okay, so now I need to start creating views that with a specific purposes. And so I'm going to right click on level 1 here and duplicate it. And I'm going to call this, I'm going to rename it, and I'm going to call it level 1 dash existing plan. Another thing I want to do is I want to make sure that no other objects, only the objects from the existing phase are displayed here. And so in the phase filter, what I'm going to do, it's I'm going to switch the phase to phase 1, and the phase filter, I'm just going to switch this to show previous phase. So if I bring my little diagram here, this is what happening. I am on phase 1. Yeah, this is the active phase of the view. And then the visibility toggle or the visibility override is saying, show only the previous phase. That means display everything in gray. But don't display the new, only the previous. And that's what creates a floor plan with existing conditions. Again, I am on phase 1, and the only thing I'm displaying is the previous phase. And nothing new will be displayed here, no demolition, no phase 1 objects, no phase 2 objects, only the existing objects on phase 1. All right. So now I'm going to move to the next view type, which is the demolition plan. So select level 1 existing plan and duplicate it. And I'm going to start creating different views for different view types, for different sheet types. And this copy, I want to rename it, is going to be level 1, phase 1 dash demolition. This is the demolition that's going to happen on phase 1. And so to display the previous objects and the demolition objects, I need to change the phase filter. The phase filter now it says show previous object, all the existing, and the ones that are going to disappear in the active view, in the active phase. So the phase filter is show previous and demo. Apply. So in other words, if I go back to my little diagram here, show previous and demo, it's show previous, all the objects that are existing, and the demo, that thing. But don't show the new objects in phase 1, and don't show the temporary elements in phase 1. Only display the previous and the demo items. That's a demolition plan. Okay. And now phase 1 is all these suites here. And remember the status of a demolition, it's when an object is created and when it disappears. So when I select this object, this wall, the instance properties is telling me that this object was created in the existing phase. And then when it's going to disappear on phase 1. And as soon as I do that, this object is going to inherit line weight override. Why? Because this is a demolition object. And if I review the graphic overrides, demolished objects display in dashed line in black. The objects that are hosted by a demolition object automatically receive that combination tool. So this door, I didn't change the instance properties, but they inherit the parent phasing. Now I can do this one by one, but that's going to be a lot of clicks, right? There's a much fun way to demolish elements in Revit, and this is using the hammer tool. So under the Manage tab, no, under the Modify tab, the last tab, over by the Geometry tab, you're going to find the hammer tool. And if you are frustrated during the day, I recommend grabbing the hammer in Revit. The hammer, what it does is just move automatically the phasing of an object. So I'm going to select the hammer. I'm going to hit the walls. And this is a super easy way to create a demolition plan. And I think this is the extent of the, oh, here's one more. Let's say that in small remodels, sometimes you just change a door swing. And so this door, we're going to flip the direction. So we're going to demolish it too. All right, and then you can add your tags and you can add demolition keynotes as needed. You can do this also for the ceiling plan. I don't have time to do this for the ceiling, but you can selectively apply a demolition status to ceiling object as well. All right, and just to double check, if you go to the existing plan, oh, look what happened in the existing plan. Some of the objects didn't show up. Let's review the phase filter. And the reason this didn't kick in is because I told him just display the previous phase, but the previous phase toggle disable the elements that are disappear in the current phase. So all I'm going to do is switch this to existing, and then change this to show all. All right. This takes me back to the existing conditions, right? And it doesn't have the show all, which means the demo, the demo and the new object on the existing phase. So let's go back to phase one, demolition. This is how we create a demolition plan. And now we're going to create the phase one construction plan. Any question here? All right. So select phase one demolition, right click, duplicate. And we're going to create a new view with a different purpose. So this is level one, phase one. I'm going to rename this as phase one construction plan. Construction plan. And in a construction plan, we see existing elements to remain. We see new objects, but we don't see demolition elements, right? And so the phase filter should be show new and previous, right? show everything that is new, and show all the previous to remain, but do not show demo and do not show the demo element. So just select show previous and new, apply, and this corner is ready to accept the new scope of work. And then you can create here your design for an open office suite. Because I don't have time to do this for everybody here, I already created a design option for you for this corner. All we're going to do is link it, explode it, link it, bind it, and explode it, so that we save the time of designing this space. So, I mean, in the real world, you will start designing now the place. I'm just doing this to go faster in the exercise. So go to the insert tab, go to the link Revit, and I'm going to bring phase 1 and hit open. There you go. This is what happened on phase 1. This is a link where I want these objects to be part of the project. I bind it and I explode it, just like we do in AutoCAD. You have a link, you can bind it, and you can explode the link. So to bind a link, again, what I did is to go insert link Revit, and then go and select phase 1 in the folder that you just downloaded. All right, this link, I'm going to bind it. When you bind a link in Revit, it converts it into a group. Make sure not to include any of these objects because the project already has some levels and grids. So clear the checkbox. The bind tool, it's available when you select the link. And Revit is going to detect that the link is no longer there, so you remove it. And then this group of objects, you can ungroup it. When you ungroup a group, all the instances become available again. A group is a collection of model elements from different categories. It's used a lot in residential. So if you're doing residential multifamily and you're doing unit types, it's very common to use groups to do that, particularly in the documentation, because a group can be copied multiple times in different floors. And then if there are changes in the furniture arrangement or a swap in the specification of an element, you just change one group and then the group, it's updated all across. So groups are very useful for multifamily residential. But I'm going to ungroup it here, ungroup it. And now all of these elements, which are displayed in gray, in dark color, because when you select them, all these elements were created on phase 1 because the view, they inherit the properties of the view, and they are now part of phase 1. If I go back, the existing plan remains what it is. Demolition plan doesn't display the new objects. And the construction plan now display the new scope of work. So this is something I like a lot about Revit, is in the demolition plan, I had this door. The door, I'm only removing the door from this, and as soon as I do that, Revit tells me, oh, you need to infill the opening of that door, right? And it automatically create a piece of wall with the same properties of the host, but in a different phase. No, I just want to flip the door. I can create a new door. So just go architecture door. And this is the scope of work of level 2. And this door, it's part of was created on phase 1. It's not going to show in the previous one. Well, there you go. Anything you place here, furniture, walls, it's all going to be part of the view phase. And so the phase, it's set up to be phase 1. All of this is the scope of work of phase 1. All right, notice also that there's a window or a storefront that was placed in phase 1. And Revit is very smart that it knows that in order to place this window, the demolition plan needs to display a demolition of an opening. And it plays automatically this opening for you. So if this wasn't part of the scope of work, when I delete this, when I go to the demolition plan, the opening is not there. But I'm going to undo it, and now it does it for you. Any question?
I have a question, Cesar. So, for example, I deleted one wall on the demolition plan, but now I want to put the wall back. How do I do that on the demolition plan?
So remember, the demolition plan, these objects, they were created in the existing phase, right? Mm-hmm. And so if you want to bring, let's say I'm going to do I'm going to delete this. And I say, oh gosh, what did I do? Let's remember, when was this wall created? It was created in the existing phase. Mm-hmm. So you need to go to the existing plan, create the wall in the existing plan so that it inherits the phasing of existing. And then when I go back to when I look at this was created in existing phase and it hasn't been demolished. So now I'm going to go back to demolition. That is the existing. And then I'm just going to hit it with a hammer.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So always think about when the object was created and mm-hmm. go back to that place. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Where you changed the swing of the door, what if you just wanted the opening there? What if you didn't want a door?
You don't want the door, and you just want the opening. Oh, so I would use a family of an opening. So there are families in Revit that are just called openings. If you insert them, load families, they behave like a door, except that they don't have any geometry. Out of the box, there's a door. I think it was maybe door opening. Here is door opening, like a door, but it doesn't have anything. So in phase 1, it's an opening to remain. So I'm going to swap this door with an opening, use the size of the opening. I'm going to say it's 36 by 80. This is showing the demo for that. And in the construction plan, I delete these. Oh, I placed it in the wrong place. My bad. Let me undo this. I put it in demolition plan. Okay, I'm gonna go to the construction plan, insert load family, door opening. I'm gonna remove this, and instead I'm gonna place a door object. And this here is the overhead of the door. It's a property of the door. If you want, you can edit and delete that dash line, but it's inside the family. Like when I open this family of an opening, which has nothing, it's just an opening. If I look at the floor plan, notice how there are these dash lines. You can disable that. If you don't like that in the family, just select this opening mask, delete it, and that is the opening. That makes sense, Jacek?
Yes, thank you.
Any other question? The graphic override varies. Some companies, for example, they like to show the new like in black, or they like to show existing everything grayed out with a poche. All those elements, all those overrides can be applied in the graphic properties of the phasing. Let's say if your standard is to display the wall, all the cutting elements as gray, I don't know, maybe for some reason. So here under surface projection, you can say all existing elements are going to have a cut pattern that is solid and it's gray. And it's visible. And now you can see that all the existing elements had that gray color. I worked in a firm in the past. It was the opposite. Like everything that was new needed to have a gray color. I don't know. As long as there's a standard, then you can apply a different graphic override according to what your preferences are. I'm going to undo and return the same way I had before. Okay. Let's continue. So now we're going to go into phase 2. In phase 2, we're going to demolish all of this, and then we're going to create another suite. I think it's going to be more straightforward this time. So I'm going to select the construction plan on phase 1, right-click, duplicate it, and I'm going to call this copy. I'm going to rename it, and I'm going to call it level 1, phase 2, existing plan. Maybe you just want to display what happened, what is existing on. And the existing plan for phase 2 is everything, right? Everything you see on the screen, except that this needs to be grayed out because all this wall and the furniture are now existing conditions. And so the way to apply the override here, it's in the property of the view. It's display. I'm going to move phase. I'm going to move to phase 2, but I only want to display the existing objects to remain. And that is show previous phase. And notice how everything has the same color. I am on phase 2, but I'm only displaying everything that happens before phase 2. And Revit is applying the graphic override per status. And these objects are existing objects on phase 2. This furniture are existing objects in phase 2. And because they are existing, then they receive the gray color. Okay, this is the existing plan on phase 2. Now I'm going to select phase 2. I'm going to right click, duplicate it. And now I'm going to call this phase 2 demolition plan. So on phase 2 demolition plan, we're going to get rid of all of these walls right here. But I need to change the filter because I'm on phase 2 and I want to show the previous object and the demolition objects. And so the phase filter that needs to apply here, what is it? It's show previous and demo. This is the filter for a demolition plan. And now that I have the appropriate filter, I grab the hammer and I get rid of everything I need to get rid of on phase 2. So go to the Manage tab, to the Modify tab, and under the geometry, grab the hammer key, hammer command. And let's hit every single item here. All of that. And then hit escape. Escape. This is demolition plan phase 2. Is this making sense, guys? It's I think the key here is to be able to apply the appropriate phase and the appropriate filter in every view. And let's just keep in mind the statuses of the objects. Are these objects existing? Are they new? Are they going to appear and disappear in certain views? Okay, so this is demolition plan phase 2. Now we're going to duplicate the demolition plan. And I'm going to rename it, and I'm going to call this phase 2 construction plan. But here's the key, the thing. I'm just going to do a construction plan. I'm now going to introduce options. So the client wants to see some options for phase 2. And you can do option 1, option 2, option 3. And then at the end of the study, pick one of the options and make that the active option. All right, so what I did is duplicate the phase 2 demolition plan, rename it rename the copy construction plan option 1. And then in the phase filter, I'm going to choose show existing to remain and the new objects. So show existing to remain, show the previous, and the new elements on phase 2. And notice how everything that was part of the demolition is no longer there. And I'm ready to start placing a design option here. All right, so any question about phasing? Because now I'm going to talk about design options. All right, let's talk very quickly about design options, and it's not as complicated. It's straightforward as well. Design options, you use it to explore multiple design scenarios, investigate ideas, present multiple options to client, and we all know how clients love options. When do we use design options in Revit? So there's a difference between a design option. One thing is to create a design option in a floor plan. Another thing is create design options on a building massing. And so in Revit, the design options is useful to display alternate furniture layouts, sometimes differentiating devices in a wall, in the exterior of a wall. This has roof slope scenarios, but to be honest, and I didn't ignore this, I don't agree with this anymore. I think if you're gonna have different exterior envelopes, then it's better to have different models. Different window types with the same footprint, that will be a good use of design options. But again, when is not useful to use design options? When you have scenarios that span multiple floors. So as soon as you introduce multi-floors, I think it's better to create a different model. It's just starting to get very complicated to control visibility in level 1, level 2, level 3. It's also not very useful when you have a completely different construction system. For example, if you want to display, let's say, concrete versus steel versus wood, and then all those are very different type of the intensity of the model associated with each of the systems is radically different, and therefore it's better to have a separate model for all of those. So let's just like phasing, design option has some terminology. In design option world in Revit, we have the main model, which is the largest part of the rest of the geometry. Everything that is not a design option is the main model. So in other words, the building except the design option. When we start design options, we have to create a set. A set is a collection of options that are addressing a design problem. So you can have an option set for like furniture layout on level 1, or you can have as an option set lobby desk options, or you can have as an option set office distribution 1 on level 1. But you have to build a set before you can add options, and you can have multiple sets. Each set could address a different problem. So a set could be focused sometimes in the envelope on the exterior, another one the exterior, lobby, canopy, for example. You can have canopy options, and you don't have to build this outside of Revit. You can all have it inside the same Revit model. A design option is one of the solutions that you define to address a design problem. So within the design options, you have the primary option. And I would say that the primary option is the preferred design option in an option set. It's usually the option that you like the most. But there's also a ramification to the primary option, is that a primary option establishes closer relationship with the object. In other words, if you have a corner connection between the main model and the primary option, these connections are going to appear seamlessly integrated with the primary option. That's not going to be the case of secondary options. It's not a big disadvantage, but it's just the reality of Revit. Secondary options are alternate options to the primary option. And then when we are modeling, we have now to be aware of what is the active option and what is the main model. Because as you start adding geometry, you have to choose. Do you want to add elements to the main model, or do you want to add elements to an active option? And so you're going to see how the active option is now one of the elements of the user interface that get activated after we start design option. And then views can be dedicated to a specific option. In the instance properties of the views, now you have the ability to associate a particular floor plan to a particular design options. And you can do that inside visibility graphic override. So in a nutshell, you have the model. Then you decide what is the design options, the option set you want to investigate. Create the option set. You add the primary option and build it. Add additional options 2, 3, and 4. And then for each of the options you associate with appropriate, you associate a design options to specific views using visibility graphics. You tender these options, show them, discuss them with the client. And once you have decided what option you want to keep, you can save this model somewhere else as a backup and accept the primary option. Binding a design option means getting rid of an option set and display only the option, the preferred option from the client. And the reason we save the model as a backup is because what if the client changed the mind? Or what if you want to have a record of your design options? You have a backup stored somewhere where you can retrieve it. But it's a good idea to bind the design options because design options eat a lot of space. And so you don't want to carry design options that don't serve any purpose in the model whatsoever. So as soon as you have the final decision, remove the other ones and just stick with the accepted one. All right, let's do that quickly in Revit. And what we're going to do here again is we're going to present the client with two options in this area. So design option number 1 and number 2. So this is going to be a set of options. And the set is going to display option A and option B. So let's rename that. Let's go to construction plan option 1, and let's rename it and call this option A. All right, first step in design option is to create a set. So design options, you're gonna find it under the view tab. No, under the manage tab. And it's right here, design options. So you hit design options, and this is the panel that will display the list of all the options in the project. Right now, there's nothing. And you start by creating a new set, and you give a name to that set. So notice that as soon as I hit new, Revit creates a new option and a new primary option. Now this option set 1, I'm going to rename it. And the way to rename it is you select the top branch of these 3 and rename it. I'm going to call this Office Suite Phase 2 options. So that's the name of the set. And then option 1, I'm also going to rename it. I'm going to call this option A. And you can continue adding additional options. So I'm going to stay right now as it is here. And then I'm going to say close. Now, one thing that happened moving forward is that this part of the user interface, now it's activated in Revit. This is the active design options. Previously, this was grayed out. You couldn't access any of this. But this is like working in AutoCAD and setting your active layer. So you need to decide if what you add is going to be part of the main model or is going to be part of an option set. So if you choose an option set, notice how the main model gets grayed out. If I play things on the main model, the option will be grayed out. And so it's either or. You cannot work in both at the same time. You either work in the main model or you work in the option. You can move objects back and forth via copy paste. For example, if you decide, oh, you know, this thing, I placed it by mistake on the main model, it needs to be part of the option. Copy to the clipboard, Control C, switch options, and then paste it. And now right here, this is the moment where I start building a design option A. And you create your suite, and I don't have time for everybody to build a custom office suite, but I have, just like I did on the suite here, I have a solution baked for us. We're going to link it, bind it, ungroup it, and the objects that are part of the link are going to inherit the properties of the view. Now, if you look at the view properties, once you activate design options, you can associate your active view to a specific design option. And so we go to associate this view to a specific design option. You go to visibility graphic, VG. And notice that there is a new tab here, design option. This tab wasn't here before. This only shows up when you activate design option. So in visibility graphics, design options, you can force this view to display a specific option. So in this on the left panel, you have the list of all the option sets. And here you have a drop-down menu with the list of options. So I'm going to force this particular view to display option A. Apply, hit OK. That's it. And now I can start adding the geometry. Any question here? All right, let's link the suite. So you go to Insert tab, you go to Manage Links, add a Revit file. And here is phase 2 option A. Just hit OK. Hit OK. This is phase 2 option A. It's a link right now. And just like I did with the previous one, I'm going to bind it. and then explode the group. So bind it. Now, notice one thing, that my active design option is option A. So anything that I place, including links, groups, details, everything I place here, it's going to be part of option A. I'm going to exclude the attached detail. Attached details mean annotation objects that are coming from the link. I don't want that. So clear everything here. These are redundant materials between the link and the active project. And then remove the link. There's no need to have the link anymore in this project. And this is a group. You can ungroup it, select the group and ungroup it in the options bar. And now if you select any object in Revit, in addition to the facing information in the instance properties, you're going to see that there is a new parameter called design option. So you have facing properties, and now you have a design option associated with an object. And this is what enables you to separate the visibility from main model and the options. Okay, you can add rooms here. You can add ceilings. You can add your furniture as needed. And then when you're done with option A, return the model to the main model. Now, this is how you're going to display the model in your sheets. Existing objects are grayed out. This is option A. But notice that I cannot select anything on option A. Like option A is literally frozen when I make my active design option as the main model. I can move everything else except here. If I need to modify the design option, I switch to option A, then I have access to the option. And then I go back and return to the main model. But this view is ready to be placed in a sheet. Okay, this is construction plan option A. Any question? Now let's do phase 2 construction plan option B. So I'm going to start with the construction option A. So right click, duplicate the view, and rename it phase 2 construction plan option B. So I'm going to rename this option B. So I need to go back to my design options and add an option B. So go to the Manage tab, then go to Design Options, and click option A, and I'm going to add a new option. We're going to rename this option, select it and rename it. We're going to call this option B. Option A is the primary, by the way. But if you change your mind, for example, and you think that option B is the best candidate to be the primary, you can always select any option inside the option set and use the make primary. And make primary will convert an option, a secondary option, into a primary option. All right, so I have now option B, and then I need to prepare the view to receive option B. So what should I do to switch off option B here? Any taker? So if I need to switch off option A from here, I just go to visibility graphics. So you go VG, and then on the design options, for this particular view, I'm going to display option B. Hit OK. And goodbye option A. Option A goes back to where it belongs. And I'm not done yet. Before I place option B, I need to activate the current option as option B. And now I can add the geometry to option B. So again, because of time, I'm going to link, bind, and ungroup an option B that I have provided to you. So you go to the Insert tab. It's not Link tab, Link Revit. Insert tab, Link Revit. Select option phase 2B. Hit open. And just like I did before, you select the link, bind the link, and ungroup it. The bind, it's in the contextual tab. Disable all these checkboxes that appear on the link options. Hit OK on the materials warning, and remove the link. You don't want to have that link there anymore. This was just a way to make this faster. The link is binded, but still remain as a group. So I'm going to ungroup it. And when I select elements belonging to this option, you're going to see now that the instance properties belong to option B. Because the elements inherit the option where they are placed. Because this link was placed with the active option B, it inherits all the properties of option B. All right, so this is option B. After I'm done with option B, I return this to the main model. And yeah, now I have everything in place. I have an existing plan with existing conditions. A demolition plan for phase 1. A construction plan for phase 1. An existing plan for phase 2. Demolition plan for phase 2. Oh, notice notice how I have something wrong here on the existing plan for phase 2 is not showing the existing elements. So I need to go back and change that. And what I want on the existing plan is show previews. This is show. No. I need to change this to phase 1 and then show complete. There you go. So I go back to show me the complete status of phase 1. That's what it is. That's the existing plan. Then I go demolition plan. Then I go construction plan option A. Construction plan option B, etc. You can add additional faces. You can also work in 3D. Let me show you very quickly. If I create a 3D view here, this is I want to switch this to shaded. The 3D views are also responsive to the face filter. So existing conditions will be existing and show complete. And I'm going to do this very quickly. This is the existing 3D. I want to duplicate it. And this is existing 3D existing conditions. And I duplicate it. And this is going to be, I'm going to rename it again. This is going to be existing demolition phase 1. And the face filter, it's phase 1 and show previews and demo. And notice how the demo elements, well, this was the wall I added later, and Andrea asked me to add. I just need to make sure that it has the same height as the other ones. So the rest goes from level 1 is 10 feet. So this should also do the same, 10 feet. This red color, it's also part of the graphic override. So under the Manage tab faces, notice on the graphic override that demolished objects also get demolition material. And this material will display objects as a graphic override. They have this red color, and that's why you see that elements that are part of the existing of the demolished status, they receive that red color. I'm going to duplicate this, and now this is going to be the 3D construction phase 1. You don't have to follow me on this one because I'm looking at the watch. But just like we did the floor plans, we can apply the filters here. So the construction plan on phase 1, it's show previews and new. Previews and new. There you go. Duplicate this again. This is going to be 3D existing phase 2. Phase 2. Existing condition for phase 2 is phase 1 completed. So when it's completed, everything has the same color. Duplicate view. Now I'm going to do phase 2 demolition. Phase 2 demolition, it's phase 2, show previews and demo. So show previews is all grayed out. Show demo for phase 2, it's now in red. Duplicate the demolition plan. And this is going to be now 3D construction plan, phase 2, option A. And phase 2, option A. The phase filter, phase 2, show previews and new. And in visibility graphics, in design options, I make sure that this view is dedicated to option A. So notice how everything's grayed out, only option A has color. Now I'm going to duplicate this again. And this is construction plan, phase 2, option B. And all I need to do is go to visibility graphic and connect this 3D view to option B. And this is option B. And so the same logic I use to create the floor plans is the same logic I create to create these. And so I have the story of the buildings in 3D, existing, demolition, construction, existing phase 2, demolition phase 2, option A phase 2, and option B phase 2. And you can very quickly do this in Revit without the need of having multiple models. And so I think that's the beauty of the combination of phasing and design option is a very powerful value proposition. And then you can create sheets and drag and drop these views, start creating your own set of drawings. Any question? I think the final thing is that you can also create schedules that are phase specific and design option specific. Let's do, for example, the schedule of doors in phase 1. On phase 1, you don't want to have the doors on the design options. So the way to do that, you go into the View tab, Schedule of Doors, and notice here that the schedules are phase specific. So I'm going to select phase 1. Again, you can pick, I'm going to be very quick here. Family type, cost, I don't know, by rating, width, height, height, etc. This is a door schedule. It's part of phase 1, but it also has phase filter. So it reacts to the visibility graphics according to the phase filter. So this is a combination of doors. Okay, if I just want to show the existing ones, I go phase 1 complete. This is the list of all the existing doors on phase 1. Show complete, no, show previous and new on phase 1. Yeah, this is the list of the new doors plus the existing ones. If I go to option 2, show, maybe I just want to show the new things. This is the list of new doors in phase 2. And if you look at the graphic overrides, you can also make a schedule, a design option specific. So these are the doors of phase 2, only the new doors on phase 2 on option A. And if I want to display option B, I just display this here. Now an option is more open. So these are the schedule of doors for option 2, phase 2. The same way we applied the view filters for the floor plans and the 3D views. the same way it works for the schedules. Okay, so I'm just gonna end with few recommendations or best practices with the face filters and the face graphic override needs to fit your company standards. So some architects like things in a certain scale of gray, the dash small, or with fill override. Build it into your template and build it into your view template, so you don't let the you limit the user to make custom changes. If it's all in the template, they just need to follow through. Schedules can be view specific, like I said. You can use the split tool for partial demolitions. Say you're not going to demo the whole wall, but you're going to demo just part of it. You can use the split tool to display the end cap of a demo wall. Disallow the join. Oh, this is a good one. Rooms are face aware, but they don't travel across the faces. So this is one disadvantage of rooms. So we'll have to place a room every time there is a change of a face. Because rooms inherit the level where they are placed, but they are not going to travel across faces, unfortunately. I don't like that in Revit, but it's what it is. And then for design options, here are some recommendations, or I guess I have. I guess I have. Oh, here. Rooms also don't travel between design options. So if you want every design option, needs to have its own set of rooms. Levels and grids, always keep them in the main model. Don't combine levels and grids with design options. You're gonna make Revit crazy if you combine it. You can associate sections, elevations, and call out to a specific view. You just go into visibility graphic and make that view option specific. The annotations are view specific. They are not specific to design options. You cannot create area schemes. Independent elements. Elements that depend from other needs to be in the same design option. For example, a door and a wall, they both need to be in the same design options. Rebuild on walls, skylight and roof, mullions and curtain walls. Keep them correlated in the same design options. Wall joins are clean between the main model and the primary options. This is what I was saying earlier. Secondary options will not display clean wall joins. And then on work sets, I haven't talked about work sets yet. So I'm going to ignore this for one. Our design options are included in the project standards of the work sets. I'll get to this next class. Okay, so that's it's 7:20. That's all I have for today. It was a lot of information. If you need a one-on-one with me, stay along. Otherwise, we'll talk work sets and work sharing. No, detailing next class. work system we're sharing is going to be next week. Because next class, I'm going to have a lot of things to do. There's not going to be a test, so don't worry about the test. We're going to create a section wall, and we're going to place detail components on a parapet detail, and I'm going to show you how to work with details created in CAD, some best practices of working with CAD imports. Yeah, have a great evening, guys. I'm gonna stop the recording.
Thanks, Cesar.
All right,
Have
a good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Hi.
Hey, Savita.
Yeah, hi. I have some questions.
Yeah.
When I start using Revit, I take the as-built plans, and I wanted to add new text in the new construction. But when I hide all the text in that existing plan, the new text also it's not showing. Yeah, it's like hide. The layer is hidden.
Are you telling me about something you did at your office, or
Yeah, office. Yeah, in the office.
yeah, you don't have to hide the elements. If you use properly design the phasing, the objects will disappear.
Oh, so that means the text will also go in that phase, and it will not. Oh, okay. I think that I did that wrong.
Yeah, because it's a lot of hiding.
Yeah, because it's not one by one. I have to select, and then it's within like a lot of work.
No, all you need to do, go to the view and apply the appropriate phase and filter.
Filter. Okay.
Okay.
And sometimes I move the take the furniture, insert the furniture. It goes only in the right angles, not like in any direction. So what to do with that? Like any sink or any chair, anything I take, it goes only in one direction, not like this.
When you're trying to move them?
Insert in the drawing. It goes only in the right angle, not like in any other angle.
So you have a piece of furniture, you bring it into Revit, but it only moves in one direction?
Yeah, like that.
What could it be?
If I rotate in any direction, it doesn't like have to do a lot of work.
You know, and this is furniture in particular, or what kind of family?
Like means shower area I want like in the diagonal, but it goes only this. So I could not fix that.
Did you try, like, you select something and you click the space bar?
Yeah,
and you didn't
but
rotate?
this is only right angle, right? Like any tilted, like 45 degrees. So I have to rotate only, right?
Yeah, okay. So what maybe happen, you know, when you move something, check if this is enabled. You see this check what it says constraint?
Constraint, okay.
This doesn't, I can only move 90 degrees. I cannot move 90 degrees or 0 degrees, but I cannot move in 45 degrees.
Oh, if it's checked, okay.
If this is checked, uncheck it, and then you'll be able to move in any direction.
Yeah. Okay, I will check next time.
Yeah.
And one more thing is when in the new construction, when I draw walls, so it goes somewhere like means I have to check every time where is the level and draw the line. So is there any particular thing I have to?
Yeah. So, you know, when you place a wall, the fault to know what the level is, it will be here listed in the base constraint.
I have to check that, okay.
Check here. And also another thing you can do under the architecture tab.
Okay.
You see this says show. It will display what is the active work plane.
Okay.
So it will tell you this is the working area of the
Right.
element. And when you
Okay.
select it, it tells you, what is the
Table or height.
yeah, you can disable it or enable it.
Okay.
But yeah, always check the appropriate
Level.
level. Yeah.
Okay, sure. Yeah, that's it. Thank you so much.
All right, Sevita.
Bye.
Have a good evening.